Hello there, my name is Adam. I'm a 3D artist and illustrator, and today I'm going to show you how to make a isometric room using a reference. So before we start anything, I want you to go to here, go to Preferences, or rather go to Edit and go to Preferences. And I want you to go to here to Input, and turn on this thing here that says Emulate 3 buttons, mouse. Then I want you to go over here to Key Mapping, and I want you to turn Tab for Pie menu and Extra Shading Pie menu. Mainly, this will just make your workflow slightly better. And the other thing that you need to turn on is go here to Add-ons. Don't mind this is just something I searched up. Then over here in the search bar, search Add Mesh Extra Objects. It's this one right here. You just check on the check mark here. I'll uncheck it just so you know. There we go. That's the one. The other one that you need to search is Mesh. You can always just search it as Loop Tools. There we go. You can search it as Mesh Loop Tools. You activate that as well. I'll mark it so you know which one it is. And there you go. Those are the ones that you need to activate for this. It's mainly to make your workflow more smoother. You can also turn on Node Wrangler. It's something very useful that I found that I activated. That should be everything. Also, this VUR thing is for this here. So if you ever need to look at my hotkeys, you can look down here and you'll know exactly what I'm pressing. Of course, I'll always try to announce what I'm saying, but sometimes I might forget. Also, before you continue, click here on Save Profile or Save Preferences and close it. You don't need to have it open anymore. You can also press N to open this little menu here in case you want the hotkey for that. And like I said before, if you want to know the hotkeys, like I'll just do middle click here, it'll show, and it'll show a little graphic, right clicking, left clicking. So if you ever need to follow along, you can look down here, there's a little hotkey thing. Another thing I'll do, because I have the default UI right now, is you go here, then you go to, or rather, I always click on File. You go to here to Preferences, in case the UI is too small for you. Go to here to Preferences, and then we go to Interface, and you can change the resolution and scale here. So, in case you're having a hard time reading things or having a hard time looking at stuff, you can always enlarge in the UI like this. I'm going to make it slightly larger for any people that have slightly bad vision. And there. And you don't need to save that. I normally like it on default, but I'll do it for the recording so that you don't have to, worry about that. The first thing you need to do is click on this cube here. We just go into edit mode. We go into face selection mode, which is pressing 3. And we just select these faces here, not these ones. Ignore them. Don't go into X-ray mode either. By the way, if you're curious, X-ray mode is this. Just for speed's sakes. Also, I'm going to close that because it's kind of obstructing vision. But there, you basically select those, and you just press on delete, which is this, and just click here on where it says faces. Okay, so once you have that deleted, you'll be left with something like this. Now what we have to do is just press A to select everything, and we just, give me 1 second, something is not quite right here. This is a bit too big. You can't see the controls. Let's move this a little to the left. There we go. Now you can see it more visually. Sorry about that. Alright. So what we have to do here is apply solidify modifier. So we go here to the wrench. We add a modifier. And we look for solidify. Alright, now that we're in the solidify modifier, now what I want you to do here is go here and type in 0.15 meters. There you go. And that'll make it thick. And then you have to press on here with it, which is even thickness. That way the corners look like this. Alright, before we continue, let's import our reference. So, the thing we have to do, press Shift A, and now we click here on Image. Reference Image. Remember to unclick that, because that way it doesn't align to your view. And we search up for the file that we need. In my case, it's this file. I named it that, but I'll rename it for the main project. I'll name it to something different that will be more recognizable. Load image. and this will be the image. Now what you want to do is just rotate it, constrain it to the x-axis, and then just type in 90. Now we just do G and just move it. It can be right there. You can always resize it if it's too big. So let me just scale it down a little bit. Maybe like there. And make sure it's behind the model. I was just checking there by putting it behind the model, seeing that it's not in front. Alright, we can move it a little bit more in there, because we're just using it as a reference, so there's no need to have it too close. Alright, as you can see, it looks like that. Obviously, it's not the exact size, but it's a perfect square, and I like that. Okay, so now that we've done this to where we have like a little wall thing, we can start adding a few of the details. I want you to press Shift A again, obviously still in object mode, so Shift A, and I want you to add a cube. So resize this, and we're just going to start making the couch. Alright, now what I want you to do is just press S for scale and constrain it to the x-axis, and just make it like that. We're making this couch right here, so don't worry. Try to get like the semi-close to what this looks like. So the angle that you'd want it to be is right there. That's why I'm making it straight. So just keep scaling it on the x-axis if you think it doesn't look correct. There you go. Now we constrain it to the z-axis to scale it this way. We make it flat. Sorry if I'm not zoomed in or anything. Also, if you're having trouble like in looking at things, you can always just do Shift H. That'll hide everything so that you have nothing distracting you, and you can just focus on the couch and just making the couch. And if you need the reference, you can always just uncheck here in the scene menu and done. We can just continue doing that. And if you need the reference to be closer, you can always move this closer, though I reckon you don't want to do that. You can move the reference closer and just use that as like the good reference. Alright, let's continue making this. So obviously it's not the same thickness as this couch, so let's make it a little thick. Scale, y-axis, and we can make it somewhat the same thickness. If you're curious how it looks and at that angle, just angle it the same way. Yeah, that seems to be the correct thickness. Now what you want to do is go into edit mode, and now you want to do Control R. And we want to get the edge of the couch. So we just mark it like this, Control R again, and we do it again on this side. It doesn't have to be very specific, but you have to just like at least try to eyeball it a little bit. If it does look kind of off to you, you can always just press G and constrain it to the x-axis and just move it a little bit. And if you accidentally unclicked it, you can always go into edge mode and just double click it. Or just go into face selection mode, and you can do it that way too. Though that's slightly more complicated because you have to click on this face and then like press G and X and then it'll do it. But right now I like modified it to where it looks similar to this, so it doesn't really matter. Obviously we're having a little bit of freedom here, so you don't have to go crazy. Also, if you have a numpad on your keyboard, I really recommend you have a numpad because it's really useful for Blender. But if you have a numpad, you can press 7 on the numpad to get the top view. You can press 1 on the numpad to get the front view, and you can press 3 on the numpad to get like the side view. Some people don't know that, so I just like to just say that. Alright. G, X, and let's try to match the size. Like I said, I'm just eyeballing it. There we go. At least from the top view now it matches and everything matches. Okay, so once we have that, we also have to get the back side. It might not be visible, but in reality, this little thing here actually goes behind. Into edit mode, we do this, Control R, and we try to get this, there we go, and we move that to the edge and make like a very thin couch thing. There we go. Go into edit mode, do face selection mode with 3. And now we just have to extrude these upwards. So go into press 1 on the numpad and then just extrude. And constrain it to the z-axis. It'll automatically constrain to the z-axis, but I just recommend you do that. Now I want you to look at the main reference. Also, when you're in this, just press shift while you're middle clicking. We're going to look at this couch. We'll see how tall it is. It seems to be like at least one couch cushion. So from what I see, the couch cushion should be at least like this height or so. So what we're going to do is do G and move it up a little bit more. And let's leave it there. And there you go, we have like a little couch. Now before we continue, go back into object mode, then do Control A, and do all transforms. That'll apply all transforms to this object. You'll see it right here, there you go. And that basically makes it so we can add the bevel modifier here. So let's add the bevel modifier. And we can reduce it or add a little bit more. I normally want it to be at, 0.02 is actually pretty good. It matches the reference quite well. Though I will say, I like to add maybe 2 or 3. In any case, we just right click and shade smooth. There you go. And if the shading looks a little weird after you shade smooth, like this, where it looks a little odd, you can click on here where it's object data, and you can scroll down, like ignore this if you want to normals. And then just click on here on auto smooth 360. And there, that'll make the thing look more better, I guess. Now that looks a little bit odd. You can always add more segments. So just go here. And you can add more segments, like let's say I want 2 segments. There, it will smooth out better. We can go back into edit mode, go into edge selection mode, which is 2. We click on this edge, and then we click on this edge. And then we just do Control B to bevel. If you want to increase the amount of things or sections, because we're trying to round this off, you can just use a scroll wheel. I'll just add like 4 sections there. There we go. Now it's nicely rounded off, just like in the reference. If you're curious what the reference looks like, there you go. You'll see that it's rounded off like that. Okay. Now what you have to do is do Control Shift A, add mesh, and let's add a rounded cube. We can keep the rounded cube as is. We don't need to change it that much. To me, it looks just fine. It's just resize it to fit, and we scale it on the x-axis a little bit to be somewhat this shape. We scale it on the y-axis to be a little bit thinner, and to make the couch cushions here, by the way. So now we just rotate, constrain it to x, and type in 90. There we go. Now it's perfectly straight. We resize it a little bit more, and we can just press G and constrain it to Z, and try to make it so it has no clipping, like verify by looking down a little bit. And you'll see that it's like kind of the same couch cushion all the way, but it has little lines on it. We'll just texture those in later, so don't worry. But in reality, it would be nice to have if each individual couch cushion be a thing. But just to keep true to the reference, what we're going to do is just press 1 on the numpad and just move it to the corner. If you wanted to like stay on the floor, just constrain it to the x-axis, and there you go. And now we can just press 7 on the numpad, and we press G again. We can constrain it to the y-axis so it doesn't move. And there we go. And now we have the thickness of the back couch cushions. So, go back to 7 on the numpad. We can just press, let's go into edit mode. Turn on X-ray. Node mode with 1. And just press G while selecting these nodes here.